Hi everybody, welcome back to Rocco Baby Crochet. Hope you're all well and you've had a great week. So today's free pattern, we've got a little amigurumi project and I have designed us a couple of Easter bunnies. So meet Bo and Bella, my Easter bunnies. They're super cute, really easy to make, a great fun little project, especially if you're not wanting to gift chocolate to people this Easter, and they're also lovely little presents for children in your family as well. As always, there's a free written pattern for my Bo and Bella bunnies, and that's available over on my blog, and there's a link to that in the description to this video. This video is all time-stamped for you. It is a long video and I have put the timestamps round by round for you so you can pick it up where you left it off to make it a little bit easier. You don't have to go searching through all the video. If you do enjoy this video and this free pattern, then please don't forget to like and subscribe to Rocco Baby Crochet. It just means that you won't miss out on next week's free pattern, and it supports what we're doing here on the channel as well. So let's get into what we need to make one of our beautiful Easter bunnies. So here's what I'm going to use to make my bunny. I'm using the Stylecraft Special Aran in white. I've got some black embroidery thread. I'm going to add some eyelashes onto my next bunny. Some pink embroidery thread just to do a little button nose. I did try to do the noses with safety noses, and I preferred how it looked with like a little embroidered simple nose. I've gone down to a 4mm crochet hook. You're going to want to grab yourself a pair of scissors, a stitch marker. Here are a couple of safety eyes. The ones that I'm using are 8mm. I'll leave links to all these things in the description. I've got a pom-pom maker. This is the smallest one I've got because we only have a tiny little pom-pom on the back of the bunny. A darning needle, some ribbon, and then you will also need some toy stuffing as well. So we're going to begin making the bunny. We're going to start off with one of his legs and we're going to make a magic ring. So you're going to hold your yarn on the back of your hand over your fingers with your thumb, and you're going to wrap it around and make the letter X, pulling it straight back down. Turn your hands over and pop your hook underneath this first strand of yarn and grab onto the one at the back. Pull that underneath the front yarn, twist your hook upwards, grab back on to the strand of yarn at the back and pull that through. And that's how we make our magic ring. You'll just want to pull on that loose end of yarn to make it a size that's manageable for you to work around. And into this magic ring we're going to be placing 6 UK double crochets. So US, that's 6 single crochets, and you want to make sure you're crocheting into your magic ring but also around this loose end so it pulls together nicely in the end. So you're just going to insert your hook into the centre of that ring, yarn over, pull up a loop. You'll have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. And we're just going to do that a total of 6 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So then if you pull on your loose end, your magic ring will come together and form a circle. And pull on that quite tightly. So for round 2 we're going to do an increasing round. So in every stitch around we're going to be placing 2 UK double crochets. So into this first stitch here I'm just going to insert my hook. It can be a little bit tight to get it into this first one, so just take your time. Insert my hook, yarn over, pulling up a loop, 2 strands of yarn on my hook, yarn over, pull through both, back into the same stitch and place a second double crochet into there. Pop your stitch marker into the first one that you've done, into your first double crochet, because we're working in rounds throughout this pattern, so you don't want to get lost. If somebody interrupts your counting and you lose count, it can be a little bit frustrating. So that's our first increase. So moving on to this second stitch here, and we're going to place 2 into that one. Two into the next one. Two into the fourth stitch. 1, 2. 2 into the fifth stitch. 1 and 2. And then we've got 1 stitch left, and we're just going to place another double crochet increase into there. So round 2 your stitch count will be at 12. Pop your stitch marker out, and we're going to place 1 double crochet in every stitch around for a total stitch count of 12, and this is going to be for rounds 3 up until round 20. So there's my first 2. Pop your stitch marker back in so you don't lose it. And 12. So that's round 3 completed. You just want to push your work out. It'll look like a little teeny tiny bowl, and where your loose end is from your magic ring, that's the back of your work, so you want to just pop it out like that. So for the next 17 rows, so up to row 20, you're just going to repeat the same, placing 1 double crochet into each stitch along. And if you want to press pause and come back to me when you are ready for finishing up row 20, and I'll show you how we move on. Just at my last 2 stitches of row 20, and that is what your first leg should be looking like now. So what we want to do is just pop out that stitch marker, and we're going to slip stitch to that first stitch just to join this. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through. Chain 1, grab your scissors, snip off a loose end, and then hold on to your chain 1 and pull firmly just to secure that, and then just pop that to one side just for 1 minute, and we're just going to make a second leg. So I'm just going to make my magic ring. Exactly the same as before. Just show you the increases a second time. So you're going to begin with placing 6 double crochets into this magic ring and around your loose end. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Pull on that loose end to close your magic ring up, and we're just going to place an increase in every stitch around for round 2. So your stitch count will again be at 12. So there's my first increase. Bob your stitch marker back into that first one that you've done. Move on to your second stitch along. Place another increase into the third, 1 and 2, double crochet increase into the fourth, 1 and 2, double crochet increase into the fifth stitch, and your last double crochet increase into your sixth stitch. So then we're not slip stitching or anything like that. To join this, we're working in the spiral. So we're going to move straight up to round 3. Pop your stitch marker out, and in every stitch we're just going to be placing 1 double crochet. So rounds 3 through to round 20, you'll have a total stitch count of 12 stitches. So go ahead, make your second leg. When you're coming up to the end of your row 20, we're not going to fasten this one off, we're going to continue working from this point. So if you hit pause now until you do your rows of 12, rounds of 12 double crochets, and come back to me when you're ready to finish up your round 20, and I'll show you how we piece this together, make the body and then the head. So I've just finished round 20 of my second bunny leg, and what I'm going to do now for round 21 is I'm going to join these two together. So let's show you how we do that. So I'm just going to pop my stitch marker out of this first stitch, and I'm going to place 1 double crochet into the first 6 stitches. So there's 1, 2, pop my stitch marker back into my first stitch because we're still working in rounds in the spiral. 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and then from there you want to chain 2, 1, 2. So you want to grab your first leg that you made, and where we slip stitch to join it to this very first stitch of round 20, you're just going to insert your hook. Into that stitch you're going to place a double crochet. So you're going to yarn over, pulling up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both of those loops. Now I like to carry across my loose end just because it saves me a job weaving it in later. But if you prefer to weave in your loose ends at the end of the project, then that's fine. So into the next 11 stitches along, we're just going to place 1 double crochet. So that's 1, and 11. So that should then bring you to your chain 2 that you made. Just make sure that your legs are the right way round, either into the front of the stitches. Just make sure you're just picking up 1 strand of the chain 2s, and you're placing 1 double crochet into each of those 2 chains that you made. 1 and 2. And then we're going to move over to here, so our next stitch that we haven't worked into from our leg on the other side, and you should have 6 stitches left, so place 1 double crochet into each of those stitches. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So that's round 21 completed. So round 22, we're just going to be placing 1 double crochet in every stitch around. We're still working in the spiral, so make sure you replace your stitch marker, and your stitch count total will be 28 for this round. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I'm at where my 2 chains were. So you're placing 1 into each of those. So that's 8. This one here, sometimes it can be a little bit lost. Make sure you're catching that stitch there. So that's 9. 19 and stitch 20 brings me back to where my chain 2s were. So again, placing 1 double crochet into each of those 2 stitches. So that's 21, and then moving to my next one for 22. And then my next stitch is here, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 and 28. So that's round 22 completed. And as you can see underneath, that's a really nice neat seam, how we've got them together, the 2 legs. So what you're going to do for rows 23 up until round 28, you're just going to continue working in the spiral, placing 1 double crochet in every stitch. It's pretty easy to do it from here on inwards because the stitches are easily visible. And when you get to round 28, then come back to me and I'll show you how we move up, and also have your toy stuffing handy for that point as well. So hit pause and come back to me when you are finishing up round 28. So I've just finished my 28 rounds, and this is what your bunny should start to look like. So I'm just going to place my stitch marker just in this loop here, just so I'm stuffing the legs with tie filling, I don't lose any stitches. And it's easier if you stuff this as you go along, so I will stuff to the top of the legs now, and then we'll carry on making a bit more of the body. Once we've done that, you'll need to grab your pom-pom maker if you're adding a pom-pom onto him. So I like to really pack this tie filling in, especially if it's going to be put in the washing machine or anything like that, so it doesn't lose density. So if you go ahead, stuff both your bunny legs with your filling and come back to me, and then we'll move up and carry on with his body. And I'm going to move on to round 29 now, and this is a decreasing round. So into the first 7 stitches, you're going to place 1 double crochet, 1, 2, pop your stitch marker back in because we're still working in a spiral, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, and then we're going to make a decrease. So I like to do my decreases just using the front loops. So my next 2 stitches, I just insert my hook under the front loop of the stitch, then move into the second one along and insert my hook just underneath that front loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and that's how I do my decreases. They're not as noticeable when you do it in that way. So then we're going to do another 7 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, and then we're going to make another decrease in exactly the same way. So I'm going to pop my hook underneath the front loop of the next 2 stitches, just like that, yarn over, pulling up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then 1 double crochet into the next 7 stitches again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So you should at this point have 3 stitches left. So into my next 2 I'm going to work the decrease. So insert my hook underneath the front loops only of the next two stitches, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through my last 2, and then you should have 1 stitch remaining, and you're just going to place a double crochet into that, and that is round 29 complete. So moving up to round 30, pop your stitch marker out for a second. You're going to do 6 double crochets. It's another decreasing round. So 1, 2, pop your stitch marker back into that first stitch that you made. 3, 4, 5 and 6, and then you're going to make a decrease again, so insert your hook just underneath the front loops only of the next 2 stitches, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and you're just going to repeat that another 2 times. So you're going to do 6 double crochets and a decrease, 6 double crochets and a decrease, and again you should have 1 stitch left to work into, and you're going to place a double crochet there. So if you go ahead doing that, press pause, come back to me, and then we'll move up to round 31 together. Round 31, 32 and 33 are pretty easy. We're just going to be placing 1 double crochet in every stitch around. So there's 2, replace my stitch marker, and round 31, 32, 33 should have a stitch count of 22. So if you want to go ahead and make those 3 rounds, come back to me when you're at the end of row 33. I usually do my pom-pom at this point, so if you want to grab your pom-pom maker as well, and we'll do that before we move up any higher. So 1 double crochet in every stitch along for the next 3 rows, and you should have a stitch count of 22. So press pause and come back to me when you've completed these 3 rounds. So here is what your bunny should be looking like at the end of row 33. So I'm just going to quickly make a pom-pom and place that on, add a bit more filling, and then we're going to carry on through the rounds. So if you grab your pom-pom maker, I'm using this small one by Clover, and all you want to do is you open your pom-pom maker up and just wrap the yarn around the 2 halves just evenly until you fill the semicircle in the middle. Make sure you don't get it wrapped around these legs here at the back. Then once you have filled this semicircle here in the middle, just press that half closed and then move on to your second half, wrapping your yarn evenly around that half. Once you've filled both your halves, just close the pom-pom maker. Just trim that one up at the top and then cut yourself off a nice length just to tie the pom-pom together and tie it onto the bunny. And all you're going to do is you're just going to pop your scissors into the middle here of your pom-pom and cut out pom-pom maker. Follow that groove around and snip away until you've gone all the way around. There we go, and then grab that length of yarn that you've just snipped, run it through the centre of the 2 grooves on your pom-pom maker. Once it's been wrapped all the way around, tie a knot in it. I usually do a double knot. Pull quite firmly on these. 1, 2. And then I just flip it over and just secure it with another knot on the opposite side. 1 and 2, and then you can open up your pom-pom maker again, and then it just pulls apart and your pom-pom pops out. So you will want to just trim this a little bit. So if you have a look on the bunny that I've done already, you can see that I did trim it down quite a lot. So I'll let you trim it down to a size that you think looks nice on your bunny. I'll trim mine down and then I'll attach it. So I've just finished adding the stuff into the bunny, and the next round, which is round 34, is a decreasing round. So similar to the decreasing rounds previously, we're going to place 1 double crochet into the first 5 stitches on this round. Just have to make sure you're pushing the toy stuffing out of the way as you go along, just so you don't get in a bit of a mess with it. So that's 1, 2, pop your stitch marker back in, 3, 4 and 5, and then into my next 2 stitches is where I'm going to make my decrease. So I'm going to just insert my hook underneath the front 2 loops of the next 2 stitches, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and I'm just going to repeat that twice. So you'll do 5 double crochets and a decrease, and then another 5 double crochets and a decrease, and you should have 1 stitch remaining, and into that last stitch you're just going to place a double crochet. So if you want to hit pause and come back to me when you get to that point. So I've just finished up round 34, so round 35 is another decreasing round, so just pop my stitch marker out, and this time the repeat is going to be 4 double crochets and then you decrease. So 1, 2, just replace your stitch marker, 3 and 4, and then I'm going to place my decrease into the next 2 stitches, and I'm going to repeat that twice. Got 1 stitch left, so again I'm just going to place a double crochet into that one. And so that is round 35 completed, and you should be having a stitch count of 16 stitches at this point. So we're going to move on to round 36. So round 36 we're going to place 1 double crochet into the first 2 stitches and then make a decrease, and we're going to repeat that 4 times. So here we go. So 1 and 2, just replace your stitch marker, and then you're going to place a decrease, you should be making your decrease into your last stitch, and that gives us a stitch count of 12, so that's what we want. So you're finishing up on a decrease, not like the other rounds where you had 1 stitch left over to work into. So round 37 we've got a round of 6 decreases, so you're just going to place 1 decrease, into every stitch along, and you'll have a total stitch count of 6 at the end of this round. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, and here's my last one, 6, so it gets a little bit tight to work around these decreases. I just have a little bit of patience as you go along. And that is round 37 completed. So what I like to do at this point is just take my stitch marker out of the first stitch and pop it onto my working yarn, just on that loop where my hook was, and then that means that I'm not going to lose any stitches, and I'm just going to use my hook just to pop in a little bit more stuffing up at the top of this here. So you can use your finger, sometimes it's easier just to use your hook, the bottom of your hook, just to pop it in. So if you go ahead, stuff your bunny until you're happy with it, and then we'll move on to making the head together. Okay, so I finished adding a little bit more of the stuffing to my bunny, and for round 38, it's a nice easy round this. We're just going to be placing 1 double crochet into every stitch, so for a total stitch count of 6. So you want to try and move as much of this stuffing out of the way as you can, just so it's not getting caught up into your hook or your yarn. And I usually just put my finger in the inside there and just push it out of the way as I go along. So let's make our first double crochet. So we've got 1, move on to the next stitch, place 1 there, 2, pop your stitch marker into this first stitch just because we're going to still continue to work in the spiral, 3, 4, 5, and my last one for 6. So this is the bunny's neck, and then we're going to make the head. So how we make the head, we're going to do a round of increases. So into every stitch around, you're going to place 1 double crochet increase, so you'll have a stitch total of 12 stitches at the end of row 39. So let's do that. So there's my first double crochet, so 1, back into the same stitch, place a second one, so that's my first increase, put my stitch marker just in the top of that first stitch that I've just made, move on to the next stitch along, place another double crochet increase, move on to the next stitch, place another double crochet increase, so you're just placing 2 into each stitch along, 1 and 2, and you should have a stitch total stitch count of 12 at the end of this row 39. A little bit fiddly this row. 1 and 2, and I've got 1 stitch left to work into just here, so I'm just going to place 2 double crochets into that one as well. 1 and 2. So that's row 39 completed. So round 40, we've got another increasing round, and what we're going to do here is we're going to place 1 double crochet and then 1 increase, and you'll have a stitch count of 18 stitches at the end of row 40. So into the first stitch you're going to place 1 double crochet, into the next stitch along you're going to place 2 double crochets, so that's your increase, 1 and 2. Don't forget, stitch marker into your first stitch, and you're just going to repeat that 5 times. So row 41 is another increasing round, so I'm just going to pop my stitch marker out and the round repeat for row 41 is 1 double crochet in the first 2 stitches, 1 and 2. Place your stitch marker into that first stitch, and then into the 3rd stitch along you're going to place a double crochet increase, and you're just going to repeat that again 5 times, and at the end of row 41 you should have a stitch count of 24. So if you make your way along doing that round repeat of 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches, followed by a double crochet increase, 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches and a double crochet increase, and you should finish with a stitch count of 24. So if you hit pause and come back to me once you're at that point, and we'll move up to round 42 together. So moving on to round 42 now, and round 42 is 1 double crochet in the first 3 stitches, followed by a double crochet increase. So 1, 2, just replace your stitch marker, 3, and then my double crochet increase, and again you're just going to repeat that sequence 5 times of 1 double crochet into the next 3 stitches, followed by a double crochet increase, and at the end of round 42 you should have 30 stitches. So press pause while you make your way around and come back to me, and we'll move up to round 43 together. I've just finished round 42 and I'm about to move up to round 43, and your bunny head should be taking shape a little bit by now. So the round repeat for round 43 is 1 double crochet into the first 4 stitches, followed by a double crochet increase. So 1, 2, put my stitch marker back in there, 3 and 4, and then my increase, 1 and 2. So you're going to repeat that sequence 5 times all the way round, 1 double crochet in the next 4 stitches, followed by a double crochet increase, and your stitch count at the end of round 43 should be at 36. So if you want to hit pause now and come back to me when you're ready to work round 44. I'm ready to move up to round 44 now, so I'm just going to pop my stitch marker out, and round 44 is the last increasing round of the head, and the round repeat is going to be 1 double crochet in the first 5 stitches, followed by a double crochet increase. So that's 1, 2, just replace your stitch marker into the first stitch that you've done, 3, 4, 5, and then my increase, and you're going to repeat that sequence 5 times of 1 double crochet into the next 5 stitches, followed by a double crochet increase, and your stitch count at the end of round 44 should be 42 stitches. So if you want to press pause and come back to me when you're ready to move up to round 45. Okay, so I'm just about to start round 45. Round 45 through to round 49 are the same. We're not increasing, we are just placing 1 double crochet in every stitch around, and your stitch count for each of these rounds should be 42 stitches. So you're just placing 1 double crochet in every stitch around for rounds 45, 46, 47, 48 and 49. Total stitch count of 42 stitches, and when you're ready to move up to round 50, if you want to come back to me. Okay, so I'm ready to move up to round 50. Round 50 is where we start to decrease and make the top of the head here. So what I just want to do before I move on to that point is, because it gets a little bit difficult later on, I'm just going to pop some stuffing into the neck of the bunny here, just while I've still can get to it. Now you can just bob it in with your finger, or if you prefer you can use the end of your hook just to pop it into the neck, just to fill it out, and it gives the head a little bit more stability as well, making sure you've got some stuffing in there. So round 50, like I said, it's a decreasing round, and the round repeat for this one is going to be 1 double crochet into your first 5 stitches, followed by a decrease, and you'll repeat that 5 times. So let's start that. So 1, 2, bob your stitch marker back in, 3, 4 and 5, and then I'm making my decrease again, just using the front loops of the next 2 stitches, and then I'll place 1 double crochet in the next 5 stitches and a decrease, and I'll do that 5 times. And at the end of round 50 you should have a total stitch count of 36. So if you want to go ahead and finish off round 50, and we'll move up to round 51 together. I'm moving up to round 51 now. 51 is a decreasing round again, so your round repeat for round 51 is 1 double crochet in the first 4 stitches, followed by a decrease. Total stitch count should be 30 stitches at the end of this round. So we 1 double crochet into the first 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a decrease, 1, 2, and then 1 double crochet into the next 4 stitches, followed by a decrease. You'll repeat that 5 times and a total stitch count of 30. Press pause and come back to me when you're ready to move up to round 52. So I'm just going to move on to round 52. Round 52 we're going to place 1 double crochet in the first 3 stitches, followed by a double crochet decrease, and then we'll repeat that pattern another 5 times, and at the end of round 52 you'll have a stitch count of 24. So into the first 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, you place in a double crochet, don't forget to replace your stitch marker, and then into the next stitch along you're going to make a decrease. Then into the next 3 stitches you're going to place 1 double crochet, and then you're going to make a decrease. You repeat this sequence another 5 times all the way around for a total stitch count of 24. So if you press pause, come back to me when you're ready to move up to round 53. At this point as well, when you come back to round 53 is where I tend to add in the eyes and the nose. So if you have those items ready as well when you've finished up this round. Okay, so I've positioned my eyes onto my head. Now I haven't secured them because this one I'm going to be adding eyelashes to, and what I do is from this I count down 1, 2, 3 rows, and it's in this 3rd row at this point that I place my 2 eyes central, and they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches apart. It's easier to find where you want you to pop your eye and then add your eyelashes, because it's quite difficult sometimes to get underneath the safety eye with your needle, and I literally just pop on 2 or 3 eyelashes. 1, I think I'm just going to do 2 on this one. I'll do 2, see how that looks. 2, just need to. So never try and get these too perfect. Let's just see what that looks like. Do I want another one there? No, I don't think I do. I think less is more. So let me just pop that back out here, and then we're going to just pop out the other eye and then pop my needle just where I'm going to place that eye, pull it through and just pop a couple of eyelashes over on this side. Just in the same way. Again, you're never going to make these perfect, but and then one across there. Just like that, and then I just tie a knot in the two ends on the other side. On the inside, I don't do too much tidying up on the inside of these, just enough to secure them, but when you're tying the knot, don't pull too tightly or else you'll pull your eyelashes. So keep it nice and loose. Place your finger on the knot to secure it before you pull it, and then you can trim them. I do trim them pretty close because the less black you've got in there, the better, because it'll just show through the white. And then I'll pop my eyes in. Into the holes where they were originally. 1 and 2. She's looking flirty. And then I'll just pop the safety backs on them. So these come in the pack with them, and you just push them down onto there. They're pretty tight to get on, obviously, because they need to hold these securely. But push it as far as you can down, and then just do the same on the second one. There's my eyes all secured, and then what I'm going to do is just in the middle here, just a row or so underneath, make a little cross with the pink embroidery thread. I'm just going to go a row below the eyes and try and pop it into the centre, and I'm just going to make a little X for a nose for the bunny. Like I said, I did try a safety nose, but I just didn't like the finished look of it, so I have decided that that looks a little bit cuter. I'll just do it a couple of times. And there we go, a really simple little nose, but I think it looks really cute and nice for hand made toy. Trim the ends, same as the eyes. I'm just going to do a double knot in the inside, making sure I don't pull too tightly, and before I tighten up the knot I will just secure it with my finger, just to make sure that I'm not pulling the strands of yarn and making the nose smaller on the front of my work. Snip away any excess so the pink doesn't show through any more than it needs to. And then there's our face done, so I'm just going to carry on now making the decreases. So round 53 is another decreasing round, so into the first 2 stitches we're going to place 1 double crochet, 1 and 2. Don't forget to replace your stitch marker. And then into the next stitch along we're going to place a decrease into the next 2 stitches, and you're going to repeat that 5 times. So 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches followed by a decrease, and a stitch count of 18 at the end of this round. So if you want to work up round 53, press pause and come back to me when you're ready for round 54. So I'm moving up to round 54. And the round repeat for this is 1 double crochet followed by 1 decrease, and you'll do that a total of 6 times. So 1 double crochet followed by a decrease. Pop your stitch marker back into your first stitch, And you're going to do this sequence now all the way around, a total of 5 times, where you're placing 1 double crochet into this stitch, making a decrease into these 2 stitches here. The end of round 54 you'll have a total of 12 stitches. So if you want to make your way around and come back to me when you're ready for round 55, you'll need some more of your toy stuffing before we start round 55 as well. So I've just finished round 54 and I'm just going to fill my head with some stuffing before the top becomes any smaller. I'm going to take my stitch marker out of my first stitch and just place it onto my working yarn there, just so I don't lose any stitches. And then I'm just going to fill this up with some toy stuffing, so if you go ahead and fill yours up as well. So I'm just ready to do round 55, which is the last round of the head. Yay! And all we're going to do here is we're going to place a double crochet decrease into every stitch going around, and at the end of this round you'll have a total of 6 stitches. So there's one. I like to keep my tension quite tight on this round just to make sure that it's all pulled together nicely. 2. 3. 4. 5, and my last one. Just keep popping my finger underneath these stitches here just to move the stuffing out of the way. 1, 2. Pull that through, and then I just slip stitch it to the very first decrease that I made, which is really difficult to get into sometimes, so just have a little bit of patience. Yarn over, pull through again, chain 1, leave yourself a nice loose end. Pull up on that chain 1, hold on to the chain 1 and pull firmly just to tighten that knot. And that's our bunny head completed. So I'm just going to, what I like to do is just run it through a couple of those stitches just to make sure that hole up at the top is barely noticeable anyway, but just to make it a little bit more secure. So I just weave in and out of the stitches through a couple of stitches and just pull on it. Then once I've secured that, I just pop my needle into the middle and go right down to the bottom of the head, pop it through a stitch, pull it through, just make sure that you want to pull it tight, but you don't want to change the shape of anything, so just be a little bit careful. Take my needle off, pull on that and snip, and then it should just disappear into your toy after that. So this is what your bunny should be looking like. We have just got to make the ears and the arms and attach those, and then we're all done. So let's make one of the ears first. So go back to your white yarn and you're going to begin by making a magic ring, exactly the same as you did at the beginning of the video. when we made both of the legs. And again, we're just going to start by placing 6 UK doubles, double crochets into this magic ring and around your loose end. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Pull on your loose end to form it into a circle. So round 2 is an increasing round, and you're just going to place 2 double crochets in each of the stitches. So at the end of round 2 you'll have a stitch count of 12. Use your stitch markers. Again, we're working in the spiral for this round. So there's 1 increase, there's my second, third, fourth, fifth, and my last increase, 2 double crochets into that 6th stitch. So that's a stitch count of 12. So for rounds 3 to round 5 of the ears, you're just going to place 1 double crochet in each stitch along. Your stitch count will remain at 12. So you just place in 1 double crochet in every stitch along. Don't forget to keep moving your stitch marker up. So if you want to do rounds 3, 4 and 5, all of them with a stitch count of 12, and then come back to me and we'll move up to round 6 together. Round 6 of the ear is an increasing round, and what you're going to do is place 1 double crochet into the first stitch and then a double crochet increase into the second stitch, 1, back into the same stitch and place my second. Don't forget, pop your stitch marker in, and you're just going to repeat that another 5 times all the way around. 1 double crochet followed by an increase, and you'll have a stitch count of 18 at the end of this row. So if you want to make your way around, and come back to me when you're ready for round 7. Moving on to round 7 now. So round 7, 8, 9 and 10 are all the same. We're just going to place 1 double crochet in every stitch around. 1, 2, replace your stitch marker, and your stitch count for these rounds should stay at 18. So if you come back to me when you have completed this round, which is round 7, and then you'll do 8, 9 and 10. So when you're ready for round 11 of the ear, if you come back to me. Round 11 of the ears, we're going to do a decreasing round. So into this first stitch, we're going to place a double crochet, and we're going to decrease across the next 2 stitches. Place your stitch marker, and you're just going to repeat that sequence 5 times. So 1 double crochet, 1 decrease, 1 double crochet and a decrease, and you'll have a stitch count of 12 at the end of round 11. So if you want to make your way around, and then come back to me when you're ready for round 12. Round 12 of the ear, we're just going to place 1 double crochet into every stitch along for a stitch count of 12. And this is going to be the same for rounds 13, 14 and 15. So 1 stitch in every stitch around for a total stitch count of 12 for rounds 12, 13, 14 and 15. And if you come back to me when you're finishing up round 15, I'll just show you how we shape the ears, and then we can move on to how we do the arms. Just finished round 15, and I'm just going to slip stitch it to the very first stitch of round 15 just to join it. And then what I'm going to do is just fold the ear in half, go back into that stitch and the one opposite it, so the last one that you did on round 15. It's a little bit fiddly, just take your time with it, make sure you're getting into the right stitch. And we're just going to place a double crochet there, so yarn over and pull through, and we're just going to place 6 of those across the top in total. So there's 1, move on to my next stitch and make sure I go through both sides, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just into my last one here for 6. And then what I like to do is fold the ear in half. Very first double crochet that I made of this round is just here, and I'm just going to slip stitch it to fold the ear in half into the top of that first double crochet. So insert my hook, make sure that your tension is nice and tight, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through again, and that just pulls it into half for you. Chain 1, leave yourself enough of a loose end to sew your bunny ears onto your head, pull up on your chain 1 and hold on to that as you pull down to secure the knot. So there is our bunny ears. How we do those is we've got to make the arms. Now the arms are really simple, so just grab your yarn again. We're going to make another magic ring. Exactly the same as we have been doing, and we're going to place 6 UK double crochets into this ring and around the loose end. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Pull on your loose end to make your circle, and we're working in the spiral again, so you're going to want to grab your stitch markers, and we're just going to be placing 1 double crochet into every stitch along for round 2 up until round 18. And your stitch count will remain at 6 for this. So you're just going around and around and around until you've gone around 18 times, placing 1 double crochet into each stitch. So it's a little bit fiddly just while you're getting started, but once you've done a couple of rounds of this, then it's a little bit easier, just because it's so small grabbing onto anything. So that's round 2. Just pop your work so it's right side out, because it'll make it easier for you. And you're just going to do rounds 3 up until round 18, 1 double crochet in every stitch around for a total stitch count of 6. So if you come back to me when you have done both of your arms, and we'll pop our bunny together. So I've just finished my 18 rounds for my arm, and I'm just going to slip stitch to the very first double crochet of that round, chain 1, and leave enough of a loose end to attach this arm to the bunny's body. So we're going to sew them all together. So this is what you should have now. You should have your 2 ears, your 2 arms, and your main body of your bunny. So we're just going to sew this all together. So grab your darning needle. Now, I'm not the world's greatest sewer at all, so I just keep it really, really simple. I don't put any filling in the arms or the ears. I just line it up so it's roughly halfway down the side of the body, whip stitch that into place, going through the body and the arm, making sure I go through both sides of the arm, and I usually go along that twice just to make sure that it's definitely nice and secure. And I'll do that on the other side as well. On my last little stitch, I'll just pick up a little bit of yarn under one of the stitches and make a knot. Hold on to that knot and pull firmly to secure your arm in place. And then I just thread my needle through the body, out through the back at some point, pull that through and trim off that loose end. If you pull it tight when you let go, when you snip it, it'll disappear back into the body of your bunny. So I'm going to do that with my other arm, and the same with the ears. Just going to whip stitch them into place up here. So if you want to go ahead, attaching your arms and ears, and then we'll do the finishing touches with the bows. And there we go. Our beautiful bunny is complete, ready for Easter. So these are great to give for people who you don't want to be giving chocolate to. They also are really good gifts for new babies. So there's the two that I've made. I've got a girl and a boy. I'm going to link some of my other videos, which are Easter projects, if you want to take a look at them. Please don't forget, if you've enjoyed this tutorial and you don't want to miss out on the free patterns, hit like, hit subscribe and the bell notification. Have a great week, and we'll see you all soon. Bye for now.